introducing words. Thank you all for your interest and for coming tonight. Basically, I want to give a small recap of the last 6 years of our work in Palau, which has been an absolute privilege for us to be able to do research here and to forge these strong bonds with our local cooperation partners, with the friends that we made over the years, and working together in cultural heritage management. That really forges strong bonds. So I'm usually the one up here talking, but I obviously am part of a bigger team, and we all have our specialists. I want to say that is one of our strong suits as a team, that we are very interdisciplinary with many different fields of expertise, all contributing a bit of a piece to the puzzle, which are those monumental earthworks that are so unique here on Palau. I want to specifically mention Julita Talay, who is present here tonight, who is our local cooperation partner. And she is the one who, without whom we would not have been able to do any of this. She's our cultural consultant. She knows who to talk to, and obviously when working so far away from home, that is extremely important. So Julie provides the cultural background, the cultural framework for the work that we are doing here. I'm going to be talking about two different projects, actually. One is started in 2017. That's the first time I came here. I made contact with the Palau Resource Institute, and Julie and I basically went around to meet people and to explain what we are planning on doing, why it's important, why we want to do it, and whether the people that we talk to are okay with this. And it ended up being 3 field campaigns. The first one, we did drone survey of 14 earthworks, and you can see on the map on the right here. And we created digital elevation models, basically a very detailed documentation where you can see lots of small details of these earthworks that you would generally not see from the ground. And I specifically want to point out that we are obviously not the first team of archaeologists or scientists to work here in Palau. There's been extensive work done, especially during the construction of the compact road, that big overland road that goes around Babeldaob, where obviously several archaeological sites, also earthworks, were touched and where they were recorded. So that's where a lot of groundwork was done. And that's how it goes in research, that's how it goes in science, that investigations build on previous investigations. And this quote from the Compact Road report was one of the reasons why we were interested in working here, especially with my colleagues who are soil scientists and whose specialty it is to identify different types of soils and what is human-made and what is natural. So basically, one of the big questions when dealing with the earthworks was the function. Why those giant sites had been created and what they had been used for. And in order to shed some light onto that question, we did a very extensive study all across Babeldaob, and we excavated over 40 geoarchaeological transits to understand basically the construction techniques and to find or to look for evidence for possible agricultural use. And we very much did, and that is one of the big results I really want to say, where we have this makeup of several human-applied layers of clay, and then human-made soil mixed with charcoal and lots of organic content, and then lots of planting pits. So that is really a large-scale evidence for gardening for the horizontal areas of those earthworks. And that is very significant in the sense of how many people could live on Babeldaob, how many people were also involved in the construction of these giant earthworks, and what was the carrying capacity. So the first phase of excavations, basically, I'm just summing up the results here. So the earthworks are human-made constructions. And another very important aspect is that for this phase of earthworks that we see in the landscape of Babeldaob today, we have absolutely minimal to no evidence of erosion, which is absolutely mind-blowing because it is such a problem nowadays with like intense rains, storm cyclones, and the analysis at the base of these earthworks did not show more than a few centimeters at most. So we are dealing with extremely well-built sites with a lot of technological and engineering knowledge starting over 2,000 years ago. And just the sheer amount of material that was transported, that is really something awe-inspiring because it again tells us what a huge population must have lived on Babeldaob at the time, and also that there must have been a pretty sophisticated social organization in order to be able to achieve something as monumental and as grand as those sites. So summing up, we have large-scale horticulture, we have an optimized land use, optimized horticultural techniques with the creation of garden soils, and those are means to feeding a large population. The second phase of our research was targeted at the topmost areas of the earthworks, the so-called crowns. And we wanted to understand what these very inaccessible but very visible areas or elements of the earthworks were used for in the past. And so we excavated in several of the earthworks crowns. So one of them down in the lower left in Aineli, the Nyakunz and Bad site. This is a photo during the excavation with our excavation tent, one of the most beautiful workspaces anybody has ever had. And our results were quite beautiful as well. So this shows the last phase of our excavation, this extensive stone layer on which we found several human burials. And what is so significant about this is that they were very, very well preserved for the time frame and for the very acidic soils of Babeldaob. So that was a very unique situation. I'm going to highlight them here because speaking in the general terms of archaeology, they were still very, very badly decayed, but they were well enough preserved to do some anthropological analysis on and to have some samples for DNA analysis. I just want to point out the documentation techniques we used because that really made a difference when it came to efficiency and also to the accuracy. So every single pixel on this image that you can turn and tilt and zoom into has 3D coordinates. So there's a very precise documentation of the relation of the different archaeological findings and specifically of the burials. And that had a big advantage because, like I said, they were very unusually well preserved for Babeldaob, but nothing that anybody could have taken out and transported to an anthropology lab. So we did this very detailed 3D documentation, and that was enough for the physical anthropologist back in Berlin to do some of her assessments on. And in that case also, of course, from a how we deal with human remains aspect, that is a very good methodology at our disposal at this point. These are kind of the best preserved group of skeletons. Several of you have actually made their way up that steep hill and seen them live, or not so live anymore, but you've seen them out there. Also in the flesh doesn't work. So, so we decided also to make this exhibition here, to make this accessible for everybody, because it is, I think, such an outstanding finding and such an unusual finding. And I'm very much interested, we as a team are very much interested in sharing our results with the local community and not only publishing in academic journals that are not accessible to most people, no? So one of the important aspects here is that dark black area in the upper right, because this is a fire pit inside of a grave pit. Here's another close-up. And what this provided us for is a charcoal for C14 dating. So we have very precise dates for this burial activity, one for this individual in the middle, between 652 and 722 AD, so good 1300 years old, which is significant for Babeldaob and for the state of preservation. And the other individual in the upper left around the same time frame. So we have a multifunctional use of these earthworks. There's gardening on the terrace areas, on the horizontal areas, so very efficient land use, and then burials in the crown areas, which isn't necessarily something, at least for my cultural background, that we would see in one context. No, but that's the situation we have here, and through the dates we can also establish that they were happening at the same time. Another site where we found human remains is up in Narard, in the Ngekwa district. That's Ngerbengay, and that is one of those sites where you could stand, 5 meters in front of it, and you wouldn't have seen any of it, because it was completely overgrown, and only after some intense weed whacking by our amazing local crew did we see that there was pretty much a sheer wall right there. And we also found human burials, but a very different kind of burial custom. So in the crown in Einvik, the entire crown, from what we were able to determine with putting trenches at the very base and on the very top, all of what we found was human-applied material. Here, on the other hand, we're dealing with bedrock, and the burial pits were hacked into that bedrock. And again, we use our 3D documentation, which is extremely helpful when you evaluate your finds thousands of miles away at the other side of the world, and you want to get another close look and interpret and look at small details. So that is a very good tool to really have detailed documentation, which in general, especially on these islands with threats of climate change, threats of destruction of sites through extreme weather, is extremely important. No? I just want to point out a few examples. So details of construction, like up there you can see those very thin bands of different colored clay that had been applied. Then you can see, for example, finds in their location, like this broken ceramic on the right side, and details of human remains. I already showed that for the case of Einvik, but in this case, you can see that the skull, and yes, it is a skull, even though that's not really, can't really see that, continues into the backside of that burn. And so, in both cases, it can be expected that there are quite a lot more burials than what we found. In the case of the Ngekwa site, the state of preservation was much less than the ones in Einvik. So yes, this is a skull, and obviously the person is not looking good in the classic sense of the word. And also we have evidence that these burials have been disturbed through later burial activities. You have the outlines of the burial pits intersecting, overlapping, and then some of the, in that case, some of the bones just being jumbled around, and apparently the later phase of burial pits, they were not exactly sure anymore where the last person had been buried. Also here we were fortunate in the sense to have a fire pit associated with the burial, so these are even older. So here we have dates between 226 and 320 AD, so around 1700, 1800 years old. And so I'm very happy that we found any human remains at all. So we have these two different earthwork sites with two crown excavations and two very different burial grounds. One of the things that was very, very important to us is that those skeletons were well enough preserved, for example, to do dental wear analysis on, basically how the teeth had been chewed down during lifetime, and that can give you an age estimate for that individual person. And that is something, a result that was quite surprising to me, because I expected people to be much older than they turned out to be. So all the people buried there, where there was enough material to do an age determination on, they were between adolescent and young adults. So not people of a higher age. And given that these are such exclusive last resting places with a small area, not just a general cemetery, but very limited space, it's at least to me, again, with my cultural background, surprising that it's such young people who are buried there. But again, that might be already an indicator towards political organization where title and status is not necessarily tied to age, but tied to lineage or family. Another thing that is a very interesting detail is if you look at the position of the skeleton in the middle, it is very, very slim, no? And so it holds the arms very close to the body, and there's no other way that this person can be in this position other than that if he or she was wrapped in some kind of sturdy mat before being lowered into the grave pit, and that is something that also Augustine Kramer already describes for historic traditional burials. So again, some glimpses at continuity, at some kind of parallels between the burial practices that long ago and burial practices in more recent years. Another aspect is that the graves are placed on these high points, and also for that we can find some historic parallels that people were placed or people were buried on these high places because it provided a more direct line for the spirits to go to Angar, where the spirits are believed to go after death. One very important, it doesn't look like much, but a very important detail that turned out to have pretty big ramifications is the find of these two pieces of coral. And actually I want to thank Chief Nierdurong. He came up to me just before this lecture. He had been here for the last one. And he told me this story about a grave from his family where sea stone had been placed on top of the grave in order to signal or to show that this person that was buried there was not part of the clan but came from elsewhere. And so this is a very specific burial custom, and we have the same kind of archaeological evidence in a burial pit from 1700 years ago that we have corals, and the lower piece is even perforated, so might have been worn as a pendant, as a necklace. So sometimes it's really the little things that have big, or that even leads to big interpretations. We have, when talking about little things, one more crown that I would like to present to you. It is the Babeldaob site in Japan, and on this lower crown, in the lower right of the picture, you have a so-called crown depression. So the top of the crown isn't convex, it's concave. Showing the digital elevation model again, because there all those details are nicely preserved. And it was also always believed that those might have been water reservoirs, or that they might have been used for a very limited, small, wet taro pond. And so we did an excavation right in the center of one of these crown depressions. And we found this very mucky, black, very dark soil, and the clay underneath was completely leached. So that is, from a soil scientist's perspective, that is evidence for standing water. And then we want to bring different strands of evidence together. And we took soil samples that we had analyzed for microfossils. And what our colleague at the lab in Otago, at the University of Otago, Monica Trump, found were diatoms, which are microscopic particles of algae that only develop, in that case, in permanently moist conditions. So we have these two strains of evidence that tell us that there must have been water up there, or at least constantly moist soil, as in the case of a wet taro patch. So these little things often have very important ramifications. There's one more thing that I really wanted to share with you. It's one of the questions that I get a lot is whether we ever found any Palauan money. And no, we have not, but small things can be important. So in the Monumental site in Almeri, we found tiny little shards of a clear material. And it all doesn't look much because everything is muddy, and basically it's just like something odd. You feel it on your trowel when you're profiling. But it was odd enough that I had our surveyor take the coordinates and that I put it in a plastic bag. And then I took it along to Germany and had it analyzed. And it turns out, dramatic effect, that it is blue glass. And we have these Palauan glass beads right here in the museum in one of the showcases. Is a beautiful blue glass bead. Now, I cannot say for certain, of course, that this is what this was, but it's definitely glass. We had it dated. It is 1,800 years old. And then we did a chemical analysis on it, because glass is something very specific. You can tell where it's been produced, what kind of sand was smelted to make it with. And it turns out it is Roman glass from the Roman Empire, produced in Egypt. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a big deal. So it is by far the furthest ever traded Roman glass in the world. And I mean, you can imagine that Roman archaeology is a very, very big world of researchers, no? And what I find so funny, especially when we're talking about corporations, the town that I'm from in Germany was founded by the Romans in the year 12 before Christ. And here I am on the other side of the globe excavating in a terrace in Palau, and I find Roman glass. So that is something absolutely unexpected if you look at the distances. And so, yes, that is going to cause a lot of ripples beyond Palau. And yeah, it's one of those small things where once you see it, you don't think much of it, but then you realize, okay. And what I find so significant about this is those little fragments, they really signify how cultural heritage connects people over space and time, over thousands of years, over thousands of miles, and the significance that cultural heritage holds. And that brings me to the second project that we also have as part of the exhibit. This is the documentation of at-risk archaeological sites in the Rock Islands. Ambassador Gresky has already mentioned that Palau is very much threatened through increasing extreme weather events, rising sea levels. This is one of the canoe ramp in the Rock Island that is already underwater during high tide. And I'm just showing this map. The red area is prognostic sea level change. I want to point out this is not our own research that was published in Nature in 2019, but Palau is right there, and so what we did was a boat survey along the coast of the Rock Islands to document sites that are in risk areas of either extreme weather events, storm surges, or more long-term in risk of sea level due to sea level rise. And there's a lot of sites, and that is something where, again, these quick and efficient documentation methods are a big plus, because you just get a lot more done in very short time. And especially when it comes to climate change, time is of the essence, because we are working against the clock here. And basically, it is unrealistic to say that we're going to put seawalls in front of every canoe ramp, but what needs to be done is a documentation, a detailed documentation, so that the information is not lost. No? And the one thing is sea level rise, the other thing is increasing extreme weather events, wind throw, like down here also in the Rock Islands, and that kind of ties it back into our first project on the Earthworks of Babeldaob, because, like I said, these constructions have withstood all processes of extreme weather, show almost no sign of erosion or sedimentation. But with the increasing intensity of cyclones and storms, and with secondary forests now growing on those sites, you can have exactly this situation where you have wind throw, where through those cyclones you have large trees that are being uprooted, and then you have a scar in the side of this perfectly constructed earthwork. Then the heavy rainfall can enter, and then you have a landslip, and then that's where the erosion happens that was avoided for so long through these really well-planned and well-executed construction techniques. One more thing that we looked into in that context are especially the low-lying atolls, which obviously are particularly vulnerable, because you have these strong storm surges that wash over those very low reliefs. And a part of that is not only that people's homes, people's lives, but also people's livelihoods are very much affected by that. A very important aspect are taro patches. So taro in Palau is, as you all know, an extremely important crop, and not only for subsistence reasons, but also for cultural exchanges. And as I've been told by Julie and Tina, also the taro patches serve as classrooms where information was passed down while people or while women and girls were working the taro fields. And with the taro fields being in jeopardy, also this process of passing on traditional knowledge is in jeopardy as well. And why is this something an archaeologist is talking about? Because some of them are saying some of the taro fields are hundreds of years old. So they constitute archaeological sites, even though they have been continually in use. Yeah, so just summing it up, we are looking at the past, the present, and the future. So an important aspect of our work is also to understand how people in the past have reacted to changes in climate, because there have been significant changes in climate throughout the settlement history of Palau. And humans have always had to adapt to those, and climate always required responses, and they could be technological, like in the case of the Earthworks, where probably over generations of trials and error, people came up with the perfect construction technique, cultural responses, societal responses. And here in the Pacific Islands, and that again ties in with what Ambassador Leslie had said, where archaeological sites are at risk, also modern island communities are at risk. And I cannot stress enough how important it is to document and to have that information before it is lost, because it is something where we're talking years rather than decades. That being said, that is one of the next things that we are planning to do, is a documentation campaign, 3D documentation also of museum collections, where we would be training local museum staff as well, just so they quickly and efficiently have, with easy means, have a sound documentation of cultural heritage. And then I wanted to make a very big point about how important community outreach was and is to our project, because we are working on and with Palauan cultural heritage, which is not our own. And like tonight and like through this exhibit, we want to share our findings, and we also want your feedback and your information and what you are willing to share with us. I think getting the schools, getting the kids involved, also like Minister Yatul said, that's extremely important. Basically, the next generation of young archaeologists, ideally young people that are interested in their cultural heritage and the preservation thereof. And Thomas already mentioned it. I did several lectures at the Palau High School, and we have some of the Palau High School students here. They, after my lecture, drew or did some artwork on a legend about a snake that is featured in the story of the creation of Earthworks, and that will be on display in the museum. With this, I want to thank you all very much for coming, for your interest. And I want to specifically thank all my local team, all the people that have worked with us, and thank you for the trust you placed in us for doing research here. And I believe with this, the exhibit is over. Thank you.